What's happening, everybody? On today's show, Arkansas's magical run in the NCAA Tournament ends in the Elite Eight. We'll put a cap on the SEC basketball season as 0 teams remain outside of A&M, still alive in the NIT. Some takeaways from another spring football weekend of practices across the conference. Schools like Auburn, Alabama, and LSU really starting to ramp up. And the Tennessee Vols, impressive in a road series win at Ole Miss in baseball. Did the Rebels take the Vols lightly? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. Great to have you guys along. This episode is brought to you by Stat Hero. Stat Hero, reshaping the way you play fantasy sports. Dozens of house-based games to play daily. No sharks, no funky props, just your skill versus the lineups you choose. Sign up today at stathero.com/lockedon. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at lockedonsec.com. Let's jump into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Intercepted.
Takes the handoff.
Throws. What a catch.
Around the conference.
And we start with Arkansas and Eric Musselman as the Razorbacks saw their incredible postseason run come to an end on Saturday night out in San Francisco with a 78-69 loss to the Duke Blue Devils. In back-to-back years, Eric Musselman has led the Arkansas Razorbacks to the Elite Eight. Of course, last year they lost to Baylor, who went on to be the eventual national champion. Duke certainly could do that this year with Coach K in his farewell tour. But after the game, Eric Musselman talked about his team and the run that they had. Said Jalen Williams really played well for him all season long. Left some baskets at the rim in this game, but he played really well, fought to the final whistle. J.D. Notae capped off 2 incredible seasons with the Razorbacks. Musselman said his growth in his game has been remarkable on both sides of the basketball. He has a personality where everybody on the team likes him. When you have a leading scorer and everybody likes you, it talks about your personality and how you're connected to the other guys. Lastly, he was asked about raising the bar for success at Arkansas. He said, look, everybody works so hard. Players buy into everything. As soon as we get out of here, I'm going to start working on next year. That is a definite. So the bar has been raised for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Who will come back? We will see. But former Arkansas great Pat Bradley, recently making a SiriusXM appearance, said, look, Eric Musselman is, if not the best coach in the country, he should be in every single conversation because he's doing it on all levels of coaching. He said coaching is about the development of players. You look at J.D. Notae, who transferred in from Jacksonville State, went on to contend for SEC Player of the Year. So the other thing, he's got a top 2 or 3 recruiting class coming in next year, a couple of McDonald's All-Americans. So he has shown he can recruit high school players and make in-game adjustments. That's why I'm saying Coach Muss checks all the boxes. That, again, from Pat Bradley. So the SEC still seeking its first men's basketball national title since 2012. That is a decade ago when Kentucky did it. 6 SEC teams made the tournament this year. Kentucky, LSU, and Bama, well, they were all one and done, losing in the first round. Both Auburn and Tennessee won just 1 game and then were ousted in the first weekend. Arkansas was the only team to advance to the second weekend of the tournament, of course, making it to the Elite Eight. So the SEC goes 5-6 overall in the tournament, with Arkansas the only team to lose versus a single-digit seed. Yes, you heard that right. Every other SEC team lost to a double-digit seed. Not a great showing for the SEC in the tournament, although it won't take away from what Arkansas was able to accomplish. Now, I should mention, as the SEC is now completely out of the NCAA tournament, the Texas A&M Aggies, who were left out of a tournament bid, they've been crushing it in the NIT. They will play tomorrow night in the semifinals, taking on Washington State up at Madison Square Garden in New York City. That game will air on ESPN2. If the Aggies win that one, they'll take on the winner of St. Bonaventure and Xavier in the NIT championship game. Tennessee, they are out of the NCAA Women's Tournament, falling in the Sweet 16 Saturday to Louisville. Lady Vols cut into the lead 55-53, but unable to get any closer down the stretch of the game. They were appearing in their first Sweet 16 since 2016. The Lady Vols have missed the Elite Eight once again. They have not been to the Elite Eight since 2016, and the Lady Vols not been to the Final Four since 2008 when it last captured a national title. Some other men's basketball notes. Santiago Vescovi is going to examine the NBA draft. Tennessee junior guard announced on social media. He said, Coach Barnes has encouraged me to go through the draft process. I intend to take advantage of that opportunity while still maintaining my college eligibility. I know I have full support of All Nation. I look forward to the valuable experience and feedback. During his junior season, he finished second on the team, averaging almost over 13 points per game. His three-point shooting took a jump up as he shot 40% from three as well. Over to LSU, Tari Eason, he announced Friday he will enter the NBA draft. Announced that on social media. He transferred in from Cincinnati this past year. Started in just 4 games while Xavier Pinson was out, but managed to make the All-SEC first team because he played starter minutes even though he came off the bench. Played in 33 games, averaged 17 points as the team's leading scorer with 6.5 rebounds, a block, and almost 2 steals per game. He is currently projected a top 15 pick in the NBA draft, so he is likely gone. Speaking of LSU, new head coach Matt McMahon making an addition to his staff. According to Jeff Goodman, Cody Toppert coming over from Memphis. His experience includes stops around the NBA's G League, an assistant for the Phoenix Suns, and of course it was part of some good recruiting classes at Memphis these last couple of years. Of course, Memphis just finding out that they are their head coach Penny Hardaway accused of multiple level 1 and level 2 infractions there. So Cody Toppert getting out while the getting's good will join Matt McMahon's staff at LSU. And lastly, for basketball news, Georgia's got a new women's basketball head coach, UGA alum Katie Abramson Henderson. She has returned to coach the Lady Bulldogs. AD Josh Brooks announced on Saturday. She comes over with a 372-157 record over 17 seasons as a head coach, with stops at UCF, Albany, and Missouri State. She succeeds Joni Taylor, who took the Texas A&M job. She also won AAC Coach of the Year this past year, leading UCF to a school record for most wins in a season at 26-4 overall. Also won the regular season and tournament conference titles as well. So a nice addition there for the Georgia Bulldogs. There you have it. That is our basketball notes around the conference. When we return, we'll get to some spring football notes from around the conference, as it was a busy weekend across the SEC. That is coming your way in just a second. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And a reminder, if you have not checked out Stat Hero yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. They are basically offering NCAA single game pick'ems, pitting the star players against each other in a pretty amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage of you. Start focusing on the players you know best with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage. Go check them out right now. Stat Hero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports action fix. It is what daily fantasy was meant to be. Sign up right now. StatHero.com/lockedon. Use our promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's StatHero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. StatHero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. Roll along here, Locked On SEC, and give you the latest basketball news as the SEC now officially out of the tournament Final Four, heading to New Orleans this weekend. No SEC teams in that. So we turn the page, start to shift our focus to strictly football. And, man, there was a lot going on when it comes to spring football. We'll start over at Georgia. Some unfortunate news out of their spring practice as C.J. Washington will miss the rest of spring practice, according to Dogs 24/7. Injury was not specified, but they wrote that the freshman linebacker was hurt during a contact drill on Thursday. Washington committed to Georgia back in the summer of 2020. Georgia's 2022 roster lists Washington at 6'1", 220 pounds. He was a 4-star linebacker when he got to the Bulldogs, so he will miss some time this spring. He had dozens of offers, though, from other SEC schools as well. Over at Auburn, Brian Harsin sharing a number of Auburn injuries after they held their first scrimmage of the spring on Friday. The headliner in his press conference, running back Jarquez Hunter, is out for the rest of spring practice. Said he'll be sidelined about 8 to 10 weeks after having a procedure on his leg. Harsin described it as a cleanup. Hunter, who is a sophomore, rushed for almost 600 yards and 3 touchdowns last season, backing up Tank Bigsby. Should be good to go by the summer and fall camp. But Hunter, one of the number of Auburn players injured. Javarius Johnson dealing with a hamstring injury. J.J. Evans had a knee procedure. Zach Calzada still hasn't gone live yet with that coming off that shoulder injury. Nick Brahms and Austin Troxell also were limited. Anders Carlson, who had ACL surgery late last year, also limited. Owen Papo, big-time linebacker, he was out or limited as well. Auburn's 8A spring game set for April 9th. Over at LSU, there is a new sheriff in town, and that is Brian Kelly. And according to many of the LSU players talking to the media the last couple days, accountability is a big thing that Brian Kelly has brought to Baton Rouge. Wide receiver Jack Besh, speaking to the media, said he has seen a flip in a number of players and their attitudes. He said, look, he wants us to be here not because we have to be here, but because we want to be here. But he's really built in a sense of accountability with the whole team. First couple of days, there's been a difference with the team. Everybody's upbeat. We want to be here. We want to win. We are here to win every day. Now, one note on the LSU quarterback battle. Miles Brennan spoke with the media, said he's not backing down from competition, feels good, is in good shape, lost some weight from last year. But Jaden Daniels, transfer coming over from Arizona State, he took the first 7 snaps with the first unit on Friday. Then Miles Brennan came in with the 2s, took a couple of snaps, and they're going to change it up as camp goes along, give both guys first-team snaps here and there. But a lot of people think Jaden Daniels has the upper hand to be the LSU starting quarterback. They like his running ability. But Miles Brennan saying, hey, man, 6-year senior here. I've been through dozens of different coaches and offenses and systems. Now is my time. Should be a really good LSU quarterback battle into the summer. I doubt we get a starter until probably the week they open up the season against Florida State down in New Orleans. Now over at Alabama, Nick Saban, their team on Wednesday held their first practice in pads leading up to the annual A-Day game, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 16th. Nick Saban spoken very highly of a couple of newcomers, including freshman and early enrollee Kendrick Law, Georgia Tech running back Jahmyr Gibbs, who's transferred in, and of course LSU transfer cornerback Eli Ricks. Now Henry To'oTo'o, he knows what it's like to be an incoming transfer to Alabama, so he knows what Eli Ricks is going through. Speaking with the media, To'oTo'o said, look, he is definitely talented. He works really, really hard. He's in the training room 24/7. It's just those little things like that Ricks has impressed so far. Of course, Ricks is a former 5-star recruit, went to LSU, playing 6 of LSU's games last season before an injury sidelined him. In terms of his own situation, To'oTo'o said that losing the national title game was a driving force in wanting to come back and go out on a high note. He is among the Alabama leadership group this year, led by, of course, Will Anderson, who was a finalist for every defensive award in the country, Jordan Battle, DJ Dale, and Bryce Young all back. Over at Ole Miss, some notes from what they have going on there. A lot of eyes on the quarterback battle as well. As expected, both Luke Altmaier and Jackson Dart splitting duties, and Luke Altmaier initially got the first-team reps over the weekend to start their scrimmage portion of practice. This is from 24/7 Sports. They said when watching throughout the afternoon, Jackson Dart threw some decent balls with a bunch of O-linemen and D-linemen in his face. There was one particular throw he threw well to tight end Michael Trigg across the middle in a pretty tight window. between the two quarterbacks, Dart had the more aggressive plays, while on the other side, Luke Altmaier had some good throws, especially when not pressured, but most were safe throws. Altmaier has a pretty solid release and showed it at times. So, again, a lot of people expecting Jackson Dart coming in from USC to automatically be the starter, but it's a real battle, just like over at LSU. So we'll continue to watch that. Interesting note, the Outback Bowl is no longer the Outback Bowl. The SEC-affiliated New Year's bowl game down in Tampa will now simply be known as the Tampa Bay Bowl with a new logo. Press release announced basically the sponsorship timeframe for Outback has ended. And they said, we're thrilled about our new Tampa Bay Bowl logo and name, which is a reflection of our 36-year relationship with the Tampa Bay area. Game lost in 1986 as the Hall of Fame Bowl became the Outback Bowl in 1996. Arkansas, of course, won the Outback Bowl this year over Penn State 24-10. The 2023 Tampa Bay Bowl will be played on New Year's Day and will air on ESPN2, of course, with that SEC tie-in. We'll have more updates throughout this week from SEC spring football as we'll be on top of it. Tons of stuff going on and position battles, injuries. That's the unfortunate thing, man, is a lot of stuff when we get the newsworthy stuff. Nobody's really winning jobs right now, but man, we report on some of the big names. It's usually injury related, and that's never good. All right, when we return, coming up next, we are going to talk a little bit about a ridiculously entertaining SEC baseball weekend. And man, Tennessee making a statement down in Oxford. That coming in just a sec. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And of course, now is a good time to go check out our friends over at Built Bar, built.com. They have got you covered with a healthy alternative. For those of you eating candy bars and other junk food, why not reach for a Built Bar, a great alternative that is healthy and tastes good, covered in 100% real chocolate, but packed with protein. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams net carbs, but 17 grams of protein packed in there. And I'm looking at their website right now at built.com. Tons of different flavors from brownie batter to coconut marshmallow, churro. I mean, they are constantly putting out new flavors. You got to check back at their website all the time and try what they've got. You can go to built.com right now. Use our promo code LOCKED15. That's going to get you 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off at built.com. Go to built.com right now, LOCKED15. Going along here, Locked On SEC. Again, thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And man, it was an entertaining weekend in SEC baseball as Tennessee absolutely steamrolled Ole Miss on Friday night, and the Vols hit the ground running in Game 2 of the series on Saturday, rolling them once again, and then on Sunday, going on to sweep the Rebels on the weekend. It was pretty interesting because after Friday night, one of their pitchers said, look, we took Tennessee lightly. It won't happen again. We will tomorrow. I'll tell you, we will win tomorrow. I'll tell you that. It's one of those things where they play in a small field. We have a bigger field. So we thought we could throw it into them and it didn't work out. Tomorrow will be a lot better. Well, it wasn't, as Tennessee Saturday's win follows up the Vols 12-1 blowout of Ole Miss on Friday. Dylan DeLucia was the pitcher for Ole Miss who made those comments, and he had to eat his words on Saturday as Tennessee's lack of performance at the plate guaranteed the Vols a series win. Combined Tennessee's stellar weekend rotation, leading the NCAA in home runs and winning a series against the number one team in dominant fashion. That is a strong case for Tennessee being the best team in the country. Vols pitchers, they had 40 strikeouts in the series, only allowed 2 walks on the weekend. Some impressive numbers from a Vols pitching staff that, oh, by the way, going to be getting starter Blade Tidwell back in action very soon. We had heard he was close to a return, and then he was promoted back to active status over this weekend. And while we didn't see him in a game, the Vols did seem to not even need him. The way Chase Burns, Chase Dolander, and Drew Beam all pitched. Now the Vols 6-0 to start SEC play. It's the best start in conference play for the Vols since the 1960s. Unbelievable what they did at the plate and on the mound. And oh, by the way, on Friday night, there was a little trolling from Lane Kiffin. We had mentioned he was going to throw out the first pitch of Friday night's Ole Miss Tennessee baseball game. And of course, it was a special one. Kiffin went to take the mound and threw the baseball aside, opted to go with a golf ball for his pitch to home plate. Of course, that Ole Miss Tennessee rivalry running deep with Lane Kiffin in Oxford, and of course had a golf ball thrown at him on the field visiting Knoxville this past year. So the Vols getting a little revenge on Ole Miss, but this time on the baseball diamond, going down to Swayze Field and putting it on them, man. Congrats. The Sunday game was closer, but closer struck out the side, and Tennessee sweeps the Rebels. And we talked about it last week. You know, some of the polls had Ole Miss the number one team in the country. I think Perfect Game happened to have Tennessee number one. So could have said it was number one versus number one, but I think others had Tennessee as number 5. So either way, Tennessee's going to shoot back to the top of the rankings and whatever poll you're looking at after sweeping a really, really good Ole Miss team. And speaking of throwing out pitches, Nick Saban, he will be stepping out to throw a first pitch at an Alabama baseball game this week. The last time he did that was 2018. He will participate in the pregame ceremony ahead of the Tides game against South Alabama on Tuesday this week, set for 6 p.m. Central. So we'll see if Nick Saban, how the arm is looking, if he can get it over the plate. Recapping some other series from the weekend. Congrats go out to number 21 LSU going into Gainesville, stumbling as of late. They went on to lose to Hunter Barco on Friday night, but the Tigers bounced back to win the series versus number 8 Florida. The LSU Bats scoring 16 runs Saturday, 11 on Sunday, and LSU improved to 3-3 in conference play. Kentucky, they took 2 out of 3 against Georgia, lost on Friday before coming back to win games 2 and 3 in the series. Kentucky scored a combined 28 runs in those 2 wins on Saturday and Sunday. Georgia, they dropped to 3-3 in the conference. The Cats got swept a week ago. They're now 2-4. Auburn, they had a really entertaining series in College Station versus Texas A&M. The Tigers able to take 2 out of 3. Both Friday and Saturday's games came down to the wire. Auburn won 13-9 on Sunday, scoring 2 runs in the 7th and 3 runs in the 8th to complete the comeback. But very entertaining games of all those in College Station between Auburn and A&M. After sweeping Kentucky a week ago, Arkansas, they took 2 out of 3 on the road at Mizzou. A lot of folks were expecting them to maybe go in and sweep this series, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Razorback pitching, they racked up 36 strikeouts in the series victory, so kudos to Arkansas. Mississippi State, they took 2 out of 3 against Alabama, winning a couple of 1-run games on Friday and Saturday. Went on to lose 6-2 on Sunday and couldn't pull off the sweep. But the Bulldogs, they get back to 500 in conference play at 3-3. And a bad series loss for Vandy, dropping 2 out of 3 on the road at South Carolina. They had a dominant start from Chris McElvain on Thursday, pitching 7 shutout innings. But Carter Holton and Bryce Cunningham not as solid in games 2 of 3 of the series. And South Carolina bats took advantage. And so, as it stands now, Tennessee building a little bit of early cushion in the East at 6-0 in SEC play. Vandy sits at 4-2. And then you got Georgia and Florida both at 3-3. Kentucky and South Carolina 2-4. Missouri coming up the rear at 1-5. In the West, well, it's Arkansas at 5-1. And man, it is just a big logjam behind them with Mississippi State, Auburn, LSU, and Texas A&M all at 3-3. And then Ole Miss and Bama at 2-4. So it is still anybody's game. We are very early in conference play, but interesting to see how it is playing out thus far. And look, you guys know me, I'm a big SEC baseball fan. Going to be a lot of fun watching these games now. Look, basketball's out of the way. It's spring football, and then it's just baseball for a while. So we'll continue to talk a lot about the spring games and spring practices leading up to the spring games in football. we'll also give you a little bit of a dose of SEC baseball because, man, it is we've got some talented, loaded teams this year, and particularly some really, really good offenses across the conference. So there you have it. That is full around the conference, stuck in baseball, spring football, and basketball. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Now you can make your second listen. Check out the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with Ryan Tracy and Eric Crocker, bringing the NFL Draft to life with insight and analysis of college football prospects and NFL front offices. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. Again, thank you for listening to Locked On SEC. Remember, you can check us out on YouTube now for the video version of the podcast. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.